Welcome to the Arizona Cowboy Poets Gathering podcast. We try to do these monthly. We hope you enjoy them and subscribe to receive them when produced. I am Jim Buchanan, your host. The 38th Arizona Cowboy Poets Gathering is August 6th, 7th, and 8th this week. So go to our website, azcowboypoets.org, and get your tickets, or call the Yavapai College box office at 928-776-2000 and get some tickets. And have a wonderful time at the gathering. We will see you there. Thanks to Fain Signature Group, Talking Glass Media, Guy Rudginson, Director, Cast 11, Tony Tedford, multimedia producer, and all their staff. They've been extremely nice to work with and professional in every way. We highly recommend them. Today, my guest sitting next to me here is a gentleman that I've had the pleasure of knowing for a number of years. I'd say maybe not long enough, but it's been a while.
It's been a while, Jim.
Welcome, Jay Snider from Oklahoma. He was born and raised there. Now hailing from Cyril, Oklahoma, we are very fortunate he is able to be with us today. He is performing his poetry at our gathering this week, so that's a wonderful thing. And he came to Prescott a few days early to do this podcast and hopefully get a little rest and relaxation with his hosts, Dave and Marcia Long, who are back on the other side of the room. Brought Jay out, and Sandy's here with us too, so we kind of have a nice little get-together. Jay has received numerous awards and honors and has been chosen and currently serving still as Oklahoma State Poet Laureate for now several years.
This will be my fourth year. It's a 2-year term, but after the second year, they asked me if I would consider doing another term. So I'm in my fourth year. The end of the year will be the end of my term.
So maybe slowing down in the business you run it with your family, right?
Yes, sir. We're actually in the excavation business. My son and I, my youngest son and I, are in business together, and we've been in business in that area for 58 years.
Wow.
My dad and my mom started the business, and we took it over, and we're still playing in the dirt. I've been playing in the dirt my whole life.
Not just rodeo arena dust, but dirt.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Speaking of dirt, you and Sandy had a long drive from Oklahoma out here. How do things look? I know it's been horrible dry, and there's more fires than
yes, sir.
Any of us can believe.
It's dry at home, extremely dry where we're at. We're in the southwest corner of the state, and we're extremely dry. We've had some small rains which help the grass, but we need a running rain really bad to fill some tanks up and get the creeks running. But the whole way out here, and it's 1,000 miles out here for us, but for the most part, all the way out here has been pretty much dry. You guys are probably greener than any place we've seen.
Wow.
All the way home. So we're in dire need.
And we're seeing the change to green, but it is awful dry. I do a lot of work on our place out in Williamson Valley, and cutting brush and things, and walking through the grass and leaves, and it all just cracks under your feet. It's not soft and flexible and full of moisture.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Jay, you do some of your poems and you do some of the classics, and I know one of your favorites is The Old Nighthawk.
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about that, please, and then if you would, we'll have you do that poem for us.
The Old Nighthawk is a Bruce Kiskaden poem that, and he has written many poems. I've got a book at home that Bill Sims did that has over 400 poems in it.
Wow.
And Bruce Kiskaden was a really prolific writer, and he has many poems that are considered classics in our days. And the old Nighthawk has always been a favorite of mine. And if you listen to the poem, and you may have to go back and find it and read it, but it's structurally, it's one of the best written poems that Kiskaden did in his tenure. But it's about the old cowboys that rode night herd around the camp back in the day, back in the trail drive days and beyond. And it's just been one of my favorites. And the older I get, the more it kind of means to me. So I'll see if I can do it. The Old Nighthawk, Bruce Kiskaden. I'm up tonight in the pinnacles bold where the rim towers high, where the air is clean, the wind blows cold, there's only the horses and I. And the valley swims like a silver sea in the light of the big full moon. Strong and clear it comes to me, the lilt of the first guard's tune. The fire at camp's burning bright, the cook's got more wood than he needs. They'll be telling some windy tales tonight of races and big stampedes. Well, I'm getting too old for that line of talk. The desperados they've knowed, their wonderful methods of handling stock, the fellers they've seen get throwed. I guess I'm a dog that's had his day, though I still am quick and strong. My hair and my beard have both turned gray. I reckon I've lived too long. Well, none of them know me except that old cook Ed, and never a word he'll say. My story'll stick in his old gray head till the break of judgment day. Well, what's that I see a walking fast? It's the hoss a slipping through. He's trying to make it out through the pass, come might near doing it too. Get back there, what are you trying to do? You hadn't a chance to bolt. Old boy, I was wrangling a bunch like you before you was even a colt. Well, it's later now, the guard has changed. One voice is clear and strong. He's singing a tune of the old time range. I always did like that song. It takes me back to when I was young, and the memories come through my head of the times I heard that old song sung by voices now long since dead. I've traveled better than half my trail and well down the further slope. I've seen my dreams and ambitions fail, and memory replaces hope. It must be true, for I've heard it said that only the good die young. Tough old cusses like me and Ed must stay till the last dog's hung. And I used to shrink when I thought of the past and some of the things I've known. I took to drink, but now at last I'd far rather be alone. It's strange how quick that a night goes by, for I live in the days of old, up here with only the horses and I, up in the pinnacles bold. In the 2 short years I ceased to roam, and I led a contented life. Trouble came, I left my home, I never have heard of my wife. In the years that I spent in a prison cell when I went by another name, life's a mixture of heaven and hell for a feller that plays that game. Well, they better lay off that Wrangler kid. They've given him bad enough. He looks like a partner of mine once did, the kind of man can't bluff. And they'll find they're making a big mistake. They once get him overhit, and they'll give him as good as an even break, or I'm taking a hand, you bet. Well, look, there in the east is the morning star. It shines with a fiery glow till it looks like the end of a big cigar that ain't got far to go. Life's just like the night herd song. As the long years come and go, you start with a swing that's free and strong and finish up tired and slow. Well, I reckon the hosses all are here can see that T-bar blue and the buckskin hoss with one split ear. I got 'em all, 92. Well, just listen to how they roll those rocks. These sure are rough old trails, but, well, if they can't slide down on their hocks, they can coast along on their tails. And the Wrangler kid's out with his rope. He seldom misses a throw. Will he make a cowhand? Well, I hope, if they'll give him half a show. And they're throwing the rope corral around. The hosses crowd in like sheep. I reckon I'll swaller my breakfast down. Try to forget, sleep. Yeah, I've lived my life. I've took a chance, regardless of law or vow. I played the game. I've had my dance. And I'm paying the fiddler now. The old nighthawk.
Wow. That's a wonderful poem.
Isn't that a great poem?
What's the era that was written in? Do you know?
I'm going to say, well, he died in 1951, so I'm going to say early 1900s.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly when it was written, but
it was just making me feel like that's 100 years ago.
Sure, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's, I wasn't alive then, neither were you, but it sure makes a fellow think about how things were.
No, I wasn't alive either. And I would like to have been. I don't know if I was tough enough to do it, but that was every old cowboy I ever heard said I was born 100 years too late. And I agree, but being tough enough to be there might be a different deal too.
There you go. Yep. Oh boy. There's some books, and I know you're aware of them. Who is the state mine inspector that did some books, and Bruce's poems are in one of those books?
Oh, Jim, I can't really tell you that.
I'm going to have to look at home, and I'll remind you when we see you over the weekend.
Right.
There was several of them that he put together with some of the old classic poems. Probably one of the later ones might have been Chris Isaac's. I know there's a Chris Isaac's book in that series.
Oh, yeah, and I know who you're talking about, but I can't call his name right now.
He passed away, and then his wife and daughter, I think it was, continued that for a few years. But some really good books. Another poem from back in the good old days, and its title is The Good Old Cowboy Days. Tell us about that, if you would.
I found this poem. There's a book that I found at the Chisholm Trail Museum in Duncan, Oklahoma. It's called The Trail Drivers of Texas, and it's about 1,000 pages long.
Oh, my goodness.
And what it is memoirs from all the old trail drivers that moved cattle up the Chisholm and the Western Trail.
Mm-hmm.
And they sent those memoirs in, and they put all of those memoirs from those old cowboys together and put them in a book and published that book. And with the proceeds of selling that book, they built that monument there at the old Trail Drivers Association.
Wow. Yeah.
And I read the majority of that book, and I only found a couple of poems in that entire book. But this one was called The Good Old Cowboy Days, written by a guy by the name of Luther A. LaHon. And he ended up being the secretary for that organization early 1900s. But he actually drove cattle up the trails.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when I found the poem, I thought, boy, I'm going to get to read about stampedes and river crossings and Indian wars and all that, but it wasn't really that way. This poem leans more towards the camaraderie that those men forged in that short 20-year period of time, from about 1867 to about 1887. And so I think he caught the gist of that era pretty good in this
Wow.
poem.
Huh.
It's called you want me to do it for you?
Yes, sir. Please.
It's called The Good Old Cowboy Days by Luther A. LaHon. My fancy drifts as often through the murky, misty maze of the past, of the seasons, to the good old cowboy days. When the grass was green and waving and the skies was soft and blue and the men was brave and loyal, the women fair and true. The old-time cowboy hears to him from the hired hand to the boss. His soul was free from envy and his heart was free from dross. And deep within his nature, which was rugged, high, and bold, there ran a vein of metal, and the metal men was gold. While he'd stand up drunk or sober, again 1,000 for his rights, he'd sometimes close an argument by shooting out the lights. And if there was a killing by the quickest on the draw, he weren't disposed to quibble about the majesty of law. But a thief, a low-down villain, why, he had no use for him, was mighty apt to leave him dangling from a handy limb. He was heeled and always ready, quick with pistol or with knife, but he never shirked a danger, a duty in his life. And at a tale of sorrow or of innocence beguiled, his heart was just as tender as the heart of any child. And woman, her honor was a sacred thing, and hence he threw his arms around her in a figurative sense. His home was yours where it was, and open stood the door whose hinges never closed upon the needy or the poor. High or low, it mattered not the time, if night or day, a stranger found a welcome just as long as he would stay. He was honest to the marrow, and his bond was in his word. He paid for every critter that he cut into his herd. And take your note, because he loaned a friend a little pelf? No, sir, indeed, he thought you was as worthy as himself. And when you came and paid it back as proper was in meet, you trod upon forbidden ground to ask for receipt. In former case, you paid the debt, there weren't no interest due, and in the latter, chances are he had put a hole through you. The old-time cowboy had his faults, 'tis true as has been said. He'd look upon the liquor when the liquor men was red. And his language weren't always spoke according to the rule, nor was it such as you'd expect to hear in Sunday school. But when he went to meeting men, he'd never yawn nor doze, nor sit there taking notice of the congregation's close. He listened to the preacher with respect and all of that. He never failed to ante when they passed around the hat. I called to mind the tournament, and then the ball at night of how old Porter drawed the bow and sawed with all his might. And how they danced, the boys and girls, and how that one was there with rosy cheeks and hazel eyes and golden curly hair. But now I'm touching on a mighty tender spot. That boyhood love at this late date had better be forgot. But still my memory takes me back again and fondly strays amidst those dear remembered scenes, the good old cowboy days. The old-time cowboy was a man all over, do you hear me, men? I somehow kind of figure we'll not see his like again. The few that's left are older now. Their hair is mostly white. Their forms are not so active and their eyes are not so bright. As when the grass was waving green, the skies was soft and blue, and the men was brave and loyal, the women fair and true. And the land was filled with plenty, and the range was free to graze, and we all rode as brothers in the good old cowboy days. Luther A. LaHon, 1903. Good poem.
Well, that is a good poem. And it just, in me, it evokes a feeling of, I wish I could have been half the man he was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, that was, it was a different time and era, and you know, some things were different. Maybe some people would say they weren't civilized, but
well, those guys had to take care of themselves. You know,
yes,
when that cattle drive era first started, it wasn't those guys weren't cowboys. They were men looking for work after the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
So they came west, and the cattle drive era had started. They hired onto those outfits, and I nearly guarantee you they's good cowboys time they got to Kansas. But you know, that's the deal. They had nobody but themselves to take care of each other. So I think maybe that's where some of the poem came from, is the camaraderie that those men forged in those years.
Yep. In better times, before we had the internet to look things up and telephones to talk to people and so forth, those were good old days.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Have and have had all my life a lot of respect for elders, I'll call them. And certainly think he fits that. Thanks for doing that poem.
You betcha.
Appreciate
you
that.
betcha.
Twister is one of your poems.
Well, you know what? It always brings a smile to my face, and I've done it, 9 million times over the last 30 years. But, the inspiration for poems that I write, come from either experiences or things that I've been through, or from old time cowboys that I've been around and listened to. And my granddad was actually a brand inspector for the Texas Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association for 20 some odd years. And I spent a lot of time with him as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to meet a lot of those old timers that were brand inspectors or were high up in that organization. And I learned early on, pay attention to what you're hearing here, because someday it might be beneficial.
Yep.
And then my dad was he was a good cowboy, champion roper back in his day. And he was one of those guys that he'd come up with some kind of one-liner periodically, and I learned early on that I need to pay attention. Some of that might be worth hearing later on. So I heard him say one time, if he bucks me off, he'll have to shed his skin. Well, at the time, I don't know that I knew what that meant, but I thought about it some, and then I figured out what it was. And so I fashioned this poem from that inspiration from him. And we've always been in the horse business for my entire life. My granddad was a good horseman. Dad was a good horseman. And so I was around horse people my whole life. But so I wrote this little poem about a young guy, bronc rider, young guy that thought he was probably the best bronc rider in the country. And maybe he was, but so I started this little poem called The Twister, and it starts out, if he bucks me off, he'll have to shed his skin. That's the claim the Twister made. He said, there ain't a bronc that's drawed a breath can shake me loose from this wade. I said, strong words like those need proving, son. Are you sure you're up to the test? He said, let's catch one up. Y'all stand aside. Watch this bronc rider do the rest. Well, we were impressed by the Twister's sound, thought, heck, this might even be fun. So we bunched them up and circled them around and cut out the little red dun. He's a spindly sort of wild-eyed colt, long-necked and a little light-boned, but every puncher that had tried him before in one jump had been dethroned. He's bad as they come in these parts, has said. The Twister just shot me a grin, said, bad broncs are my business. If he bucks me off, he'll have to jump right out of his skin. So Charlie Bob ropes him and snugs him up close, and old Slim gets a mouthful of ear. It took Rusty and Bub and old Jake to hold him while the Twister stacked on his gear. The twister stepped on, took a mighty deep seat, and old Charlie Bob pitched him his head. The colt went from round pin floor to treetop high. His north end went south instead. You know, I've seen cowboys throw it higher and harder, but I can't remember just when, and I reckon Old Snake be a fitting name, because this colt just shed his skin. And the twister, you see, learned his lesson well, because he now sings a different song. It takes a plenty bad hombre to throw me off, but it sure don't take him long. The twister. That's always been a fun one to do. And some truth in it. Truth in it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure that, I think there's a lot of people that could say that's my story.
Probably so.
I had the pleasure of being raised here in Prescott, and our family were never ranchers, but I was friends of a lot of them, and started going to the Prescott Frontier Days Rodeo when I was a little kid, and you could climb up on the chutes and nobody ran you off.
Sure.
And then later, I was telling you all earlier, I spent 20 plus years on the committee for the rodeo, and did a lot of work with cowboys in the arena, and I've seen a lot of them come off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And I've seen some fantastic rides.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of that, I myself rode bulls for about 25 years until my brains came in, and then I quit riding bulls and went back to roping like I had done when I was young. So, but I wouldn't take for the memories.
You had a foolish period in your life, what you're telling me?
Yeah, a pretty long period, actually.
I've watched a lot of bull riders, and actually, I rode a little bull. I got on a little bull up in Williams. I did not ride him at the rodeo up there, and learned the lesson that was not something I ought to be doing. And fortunately, I listened to that message.
There you go. There you go.
I've spent a lot of time on horseback, but that was the last bull that I got on. Let's see. You wrote another poem about the gates at the branding pens, and I know you spent a lot of time at branding pens over the years. You and your family raise horses and cattle both still, don't you?
We still do. Yeah, we're still. Now, we don't have a great big herd. We got enough time to take care of 100 cows, and we always got a bunch of old horses around that can kind of justify having some cows around. So, we still raise some horses and cattle.
So you wrote a poem that's a story, The Pearly Gate. Would you do that for us?
I certainly will. I wrote this poem way back a lot of years ago, and it's been a favorite. I just still do it quite a bit, but called The Pearly Gates. Did you ever stop and wonder, is there just one pearly gate? In my mind's eye, I can see it there standing strong and true and straight. And the paint weren't chipped nor faded, and it swung real smooth and free. But is this gate just for city folk, not for worn-out old punchers like me? You see, I'm not accustomed to gates of grand round our ranch. We merely make do. They're not real neat nor fancy made. Most got a broken rail or two. So I wonder, when I make it there to that gate so grand and fine, will the good Lord let me ride on through, or send me round to one like mine? Like this one here at the branding pens with its worn and splintered rails. Lord, if that old gate could talk, it could tell a million tales. Like at branding time when the wagon's out for weeks there in the spring, or when the hands play a cowboy symphony as their rowels begin to ring. Or in the winter when it's feeding time because the snow is drifting deep and you're wondering where the remuda is, roll out because you can't sleep because this old gate ain't hung real sturdy. It blows shut when it ain't tied, so you brave the bitter snow and cold to push that gate back way out wide. You see, the horses know protection's waiting through that gate if there's a need, and there's trust and admiration there when they come in to feed. You see, that gate is mighty special, though it's seen some better days. In the spring, you see revival through it in the valley beneath the haze. And at that gate, if you listen closely, a wealth of laughter fills your ears. Must be old friends that happened by for all those many years. Because this ranch breathed life for a lot of years into kids and calves and foals, and sunrise still takes your breath away from atop those rocky knolls. So this gate must be the pearly kind, though it's rough and loosely tied. Because when I'm standing there looking through, I see heaven on the other side, the pearly gates.
You know, something that I respect and appreciate about most every cowboy poet that I've had the pleasure of meeting is that they believe in a God up there. Somehow they may have a different vision of it than I have, but they have faith.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of times that's kept them alive.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you for that. Another one of your poems, a tribute to Tom.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I think that has some special memories for you.
It does. It does. This happened many years ago, but I had an old friend by the name of Manfred Elliott that was a brand inspector alongside my granddad, and I got to know Manfred and his family really well over the years, and one of Manfred's daughters married Tom Morehouse.
Mm-hmm.
And so Manfred called me one night and told me they were going to be working calves, the spring branding down at a little lease ranch that Tom had between Turkey and Esteline, Texas. So my older brother and I and our two youngest sons got up and we drove down there, and we got there to camp way before daylight. And the cowboys had already ridden out that morning. Wasn't anybody left in the camp but the cook. And he might have been an exchange student. He didn't talk exactly like we did. And so anyway, he pointed the direction of the pasture they were going to go that morning. So we rode over that away, and it was just breaking light. And we could see the silhouette of a cowboy on the rim over there. So we rode over that away and got up there where he was at, and we got to visiting with him, and he didn't talk exactly like we did either. And he's probably 17, 18 years old maybe. And I said, "Son, where are you from?" And he said, "I'm from Wisconsin." And I said, "What in the world are you doing in North Texas from Wisconsin?" And he said, "Well, I've been wrangling dudes up there in Wisconsin for a lot of years, but," he said, my goal was to eventually get down and work on a real cattle ranch." And so he got a hold of Tom Morehouse by way of Buster McLaury. And Tom told him yeah, if you can make it down before the wagon rolls, well, I'll put you to work. So he made it down, and this was the time that we met down there too. And so we worked all day long, and this kid worked like a trooper now, but he knew absolutely nothing about cows.
Mm-hmm.
He rode a horseback pretty good, but he knew absolutely nothing about cows. So I watched this whole thing all day long, and I wanted to, after it was over with and we went home, I wanted to write a poem about it, and I wanted to write a poem, something really eloquent to tell how I was so impressed with Tom Morehouse that he would give this kid a chance at the spring works. Mm-hmm. He didn't have to. He had the best cowboys in the country hired.
Yeah.
So I went home and I started it, and took me about 3 years to write it. So
wow.
Anyway, finally got it finished. But sometimes when you start writing, they don't go exactly the way you want them to go. So knowing that, I just went ahead and entitled it A Tribute to Tom. Nobody knew where the kid called home. He just wandered in one day. He begged and pleaded with the wagon boss. He said he'd darn sure earn his pay. We could tell he weren't a cowboy by the way he spoke and dressed, but something about him sort of struck a note. He was different from the rest. And we could tell that Tom was worried because the kid was darn sure green, but he had a kind of sincere way that we'd seldom ever seen. So we convinced old Tom to hire him on. He said he'd make the kid a place. Well, you could have lit the darkest room with the light in that kid's face. So Tom cuts him out a seasoned horse so's to keep the kid alive. By break of dawn that frosty morn, the kid was making his first drive. And Tom sent him on a circle, said to ride the canyon rim, but by the time the kid made the branding pins, his old horse was a-leading him. But he'd wade right in, I'll give him that, be it luck or be it fate, because every time we'd cut a dry, he'd be a-standing in the gate. But at the branding fire, he seemed compelled to sure enough make a hand, so we stuck him on the flanking crew so's to really test his sand. Well, the first calf run him over, kicked the pocket off his shirt. By the time he got him flanked and held, his boots was full of dirt. And Tom had yelled to bring the iron. The kid was Johnny on the spot. The end he grabbed was cold as ice. The end he handed Tom was not. But what the heck, the kid's got spunk. He healed old Nasty's calf and drug him through the branding fire, prompting me and Tom to laugh. Till old Nasty come a-hunting for the thief what stole her kin. She give old Tom a hook and launched him up and out the pen. So Tom commenced to school the lad on vaccinating calves, but now old Tom will be bangs free and the blackleg he won't have. So we put the kid to cropping ears, but it give the boy the heaves, and in between convulsions, he swaller forked Tom's sleeve. Now the boys agree he'll make a hand, on that I'll bet my life, but we figured till he's seasoned some, why, we'd not give the lad the knife. Then my head began to reel and swelling up with cowboy pride, because the kid's success ain't relevant. It's just simply that he tried. But facts is facts, and I'm proud to say we kept the boy alive, but had we had to school him twice, why, poor old Tom might not survive. A tribute to Tom.
I love that. And I never met Tom Morehouse, but I've sure heard a lot about him through the years.
Fine man. He's one of those kind of guys that, you can stop and talk to him at one of these gatherings or a ranch rodeo or wherever you see him, and he will stop and visit with you, and you're the only person in that quarter section. That's just the way he is. He's a fine individual and good cowman, good horseman. He's just a good cowboy.
Share a little story with you of my own. Years ago, Neil and Mary Abbott were working for Mike Oden out on the 7-Up Ranch. And every now and then we'd have an opportunity to go out and help them. And they said, come on out this day and be here by 5. We had to leave the house at 3.
Oh, yeah.
to get there at 5 because it's a fairly remote spot. And Mary had breakfast for us, and we rode out of camp there, and rode up out of camp, got on almost the top of a ridge. We were just off a little bit of the peak of the ridge, and this is a canyon that goes into Burrow Creek. And Burrow Creek is a big, deep canyon, and that canyon was a big, deep canyon. And the sun was just barely shining. We had enough light that we could kind of see where we were going, but not good light. And all of a sudden, we heard something, and a fighter jet came down this canyon below us.
Wow.
And looked up at us, and you could see his big eyes through the goggles. I mean, he was close. You could see all of his instrument lights and everything, and he's going, "Where in the heck did you come from?"
Wow.
But those fighter jets out of Luke and Yuma come up and fly those canyons because they're a wonderful training ground for them.
Oh, sure.
And it's very remote.
Oh, wow.
If you're not there on horseback, you're probably not there, or maybe you're a hunter in very good condition.
Right. Wow. That's crazy.
We were in the saddle 14 hours that day.
Oh, wow.
Which was one of the toughest days I've done, and I know, talking to Neil and Mary, that was a short day.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But it was an interesting experience, and the odd thing, I'll end the story with this: all the horses just walked along and never spooked, never did a thing. The jet went by. Fortunately, it didn't cut in an afterburner or anything.
Wow.
And we all got through it. Anyway.
Horses got to be plenty broke for that to happen and them not spook.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We had pretty good horses. We did a lot of trail riding, what I would call trail riding. We did a lot of volunteer work in the forest on trails and improving water for wildlife and cattle and various things, and just thoroughly enjoyed being out there in nature.
Sure.
And then, every now and then one of the ranchers would say, come out and help us, and that was kind of like, yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of the same way today. There's, and I don't know about all the ranches down in here, but I'm a little familiar with some of the ranches up there in our country, and they don't have the resources to hire full-time employees all the time. So they depend on a lot of day workers, and it's good for the day workers because they get some experience, and their horses get experience, and the ranch is not out the full-time wage for them. But not all of them are that way. There's still some ranches, Stewart Ranch, and some of them they've got some full-time employees.
Good crews on.
Sure.
Yeah. Yep. The 7-Up now is Kempwood Cattle Company, and they've got a wonderful crew out there. And then we're good friends of the Keycuffers and the Keycuffer Ranch, and now they have the Bokelius Cattle Company, which is all of I think it's 700,000 acres from Seligman to the Grand Canyon.
Wow.
And then a good ways east. Belongs to the Navajo Indian tribe, but Keycuffers have it leased and
I see.
Run cattle up there.
A lot of country.
Yeah.
A lot of country.
Yep. Rough country. Geez, where am I? One of your other poems, Two Prayers.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that.
That, inspiration for poetry, for my poetry anyway, comes from every direction, and sometimes you can take that story and hopefully, if I write it well enough, they can, the person that's reading it or listening to it can go from the first step and follow me all the way through to the end step.
Mm-hmm.
But cowboy poetry, in my opinion, has always traditionally been rhymed and meter poetry, and that's kind of what I try to do, is stay as traditional as I can. But this poem was inspired by an old fellow by the name of Junior Smith that my dad used to rope in the Old Timers Association with him. They both rope calves, rope steers. And Junior worked for an old fellow by the name of Foy Proctor. And Foy had a ranch up around Channing. And he didn't have any kids. But Junior worked for him for 35 years. And I don't know that he ever owned one cow or one blade of grass on that ranch. But he took care of that ranch like it belonged to him. And Foy, Mr. Proctor, when he died, he left that ranch and $1 million to Junior Smith and his wife.
Wow.
Simply because he was a valued employee. He took care of that place like it belonged to him. So,
Yep. Couldn't find a better man.
Yeah. So I started this poem, and it's called Two Prayers, and hopefully I can get through it. The kid stopped by for breakfast just the way I'd asked him to. He had inquired about a ranch job. The kid was right on cue. And he hung his hat there by the door as he shyly stepped on in. He reached and firmly shook my hand and said, "I hear you're looking for some men." He's a scrawny kid, about 17, and I'd say he looked the part, but the looking and the doing sometimes is far apart. So I heaped his plate with morning chuck. He promptly bowed his head. "I thank you, Lord, for all I've got's the only words he said. Well, I thought sure the kid had found her, but he thanked me most polite, and we talked on through the morning right up to noonday's light. He had a kind and steady way. He seemed much older than his years, but when the topic turned to horses, he could barely hold the tears. He said, "I'm afoot as horses go. I sold the only one I had. My mom was sort of in it tight. Last year we lost my dad. And he said my daddy was my hero, and he taught me all he knew about breaking colts and ranching from a hired hand's point of view. And he taught me by example the worth of pulling my own weight, so I'm accustomed to starting early and opposed to staying late." And then the room got deathly quiet, and I knew right then and there that the kid had something on his mind that he felt the need to share. He said, "I prayed you'd have a place for me that I could call this camp my home. I'll show you I can make a hand. I'll treat your ranch just like my own." But when he told me why he'd sold his horse, it bridled inhibitions that I had. It hit me pretty close to home when he said he'd lost his dad. You see, I lost a son, the only heir to a ranch a lifetime built, and wondering what might come of it had me on a downward tilt. So I prayed I'd have the wisdom, that I'd have the grit to stay, that this ranch might grow and prosper far beyond my dying day. And in the quiet of the noonday sun, with both our futures looking dim, he shared his hopes and dreams with me, and I shared this thought with him. This morning, son, you were just some kid when you stepped in through my doors. But today, 2 prayers were answered, those being mine and yours. 2 prayers.
Wow. I'm not sure what to how to go from that.
I've had that written for a good long time, but I'm one of those guys that if I don't get it committed to memory pretty good, I don't do it often. So maybe I get it committed to memory here for too long.
Well, thank you for sharing it with us today.
Thank you.
I think we'll call this a wrap today. Jay, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you for Sandy for dragging him out here. And Dave and Marcia for hosting Jay while he's visiting here in Prescott. And be sure you come to the Arizona Cowboy Poets Gathering and enjoy Jay and a lot of other good poets and wonderful musicians. So thank you all for joining us, watching and listening to our podcast. We'll continue these as we prepare for the 2027 39th annual Arizona Cowboy Poets Gathering, which will be August 12th, 13th, and 14th in Prescott, Arizona. Please check out our website at azcowboypoets.org. Sign up for our newsletters and follow us on Facebook. Until we meet again, adios.